Good day everyone. Thank you to the Croatian Chamber of Architects and to the French Embassy for this invitation. I'm Guiony, the Deputy Director of the National Program Action Coeur de Ville, and I'll try to give a feedback on the French policy for town centers and mid-sized cities revitalization. Mid-sized cities have long been regarded as fundamental building blocks in the French urban framework, playing a part in the national cohesion. They carry out their centrality roles by accommodating activities and employment, health facilities and educational institutions, sports and cultural amenities and heritage sites, for example. These cities are also links connecting different territories together. In 2013, around 5.6 million people lived in France's 203 mid-sized cities, which is almost 23% of the population. These areas of connection between urban and rural areas are also attractive to tourists with an exceptional historical heritage, numerous of them being UNESCO heritage. Mid-sized cities, whose central municipality and urban area are experiencing demographic growth, are greater in number than those whose central municipality experiences a demographic decline. Mid-sized cities are still carrying out centrality roles. Accordingly, they are home to a quarter of jobs, a third of health facilities, and a quarter of higher secondary schools, a quarter of student numbers, and provide over 80% of the residents of their living territories with access to 12 mid-range facilities in 15 minutes or less. They have been facing during the last decade strong upheavals, acceleration of the peripheral urbanization, thus urban sprawl, devitalization of the town centers, closure or downsizing of many state public services, and finally, growth of two alarming urban indicators, housing vacancy and retail vacancy, which dramatically increased in the town centers. Meanwhile, national public policies have been focusing mainly on the division of legal competences between the state and local authorities, with a strong focus on large metropolization and the region's empowerment, following several reports and publications and debates throughout the presidential campaign of 2017 about the deterioration of the attractiveness of mid-sized city centers. The decision was made to focus on the city centers as a historical place of accumulation of social, cultural and urban capital, with the idea of renewing and maintaining it. In 2018, the launch of Action Coeur de Ville, a 5 billion euros public investment plan for all the French mid-sized cities, 222 territories, carrying out a centrality role on their territory, takes place in such context. No public policy had been elaborated specifically for this urban structure since more than 40 years. Action Coeur de Ville aims at fostering a sustainable urban development of mid-sized cities in France, particularly through the revitalization of their town centers. The program is displaying 5 billion euros, as mentioned, along with three public funders, the Caisse des dépôts et consignations, the National Agency for Housing, and Action Logement. These territories, these 222 territories, have contracted with the state to shape a global strategy involving all urban policies and support projects on 5 different axes: housing restructuration and rehabilitation in city centers, well-balanced economic and commercial development, accessibility, mobilities and connection, renovation, preservation and adaptation of public spaces, and finally, equipments and services. Specific attention is paid to ecological transition, innovation and citizen participations. The Action Coeur de Ville plan is the precursor of a new form of public action for territories, which flourished during the past 4 years. Its implementation is based on a partnership approach and is fully decentralized. Projects are those shaped locally by public and private actors and supervised or integrated by the city in the city strategy by the mayor. Mayors are central to its governance. They chair the local committee Action Coeur de Ville, gathering the state and the different founding partners, and projects funded are different in every city, adapted to its peculiar challenges. The implementation process takes place as follows. A 5 to 6 years contract is signed between the city, the state, the founding partners, and local partners. The method is to adopt a two-step strategy with an initialization period in order to produce a global diagnosis on every axis and to design the perimeters of intervention, and then an implementation period to make the actions concrete and go to the operational level. The specificity of its method is also to be deconcentrated, as we say in France, as most of the contract management and project reviews are left in the hands of territorial network of the state and the partners. Few is left to the national level. Alongside local actors, at the regional scale, financing partners judge the relevance of each project locally in the Funding Partners Committee. On the national level, we ensure, with my team within the National Direction Coordination, the monitoring, the evaluation, the valorization of the program, as well as the daily links with all the partners and ministries involved. In the light of the positive results of the program and its achievements, the President of the French Republic, Emmanuel Macron, announced last September that the program would be extended to 2023-2026, whereas it was initially planned for 5 years. In order to prepare this extension, work is underway to define new orientations according to the needs of the territories and to intensify and consolidate the work carried out in recent years. To present this work, here are the key figures of the program. 4.4 billion have been committed since the start of the program. The objective of 5 billion euros will be met at the end of the year 2022, and these figures represent tangible realizations locally. As I said, more than 6,000 projects have been initiated, which represents, for example, about 1,000 projects of innovation or construction and rehabilitation of commercial premises, financed by one of our public funders. And this also represents approximately 70,000 housing units built or renovated by ANA or Action Logement. These projects have been accelerated or made easier by financial, regulatory, and contractual measures. Firstly, the creation of the Territorial Revitalization Operation, ORT, which concerns 223 Action Coeur de Ville towns. This legal contract simplifies the process of setting up retail outlets in town centers by exempting them from the need to apply for a retail permit in these areas. It also makes possible to regulate the development of trade on the outskirts of towns. 6 towns, Oyonnax, Montargis, Moulins, Limoges, Blois, Saint-Dié-des-Vosges, benefited from an order from the préfet, the local representative of the state, suspending retail projects deemed detrimental to the commercial revitalization of their town centers. Due to the global crisis of the COVID-19, it was necessary to support cities within the framework of the recovery plan launched in France, as in many other countries of the European Union. As such, it was created a wasteland fund, for instance, that has helped many projects that are experiencing strong operating deficits, mainly due to the urban constraints, cleanup costs, and heritage issues for the sites that are concerned. And this fund would be perpetuated given its usefulness for the cities. Another fund, the Retail Restructuring Fund, provided with 60 million euros, aims at funding deficits of complex rehabilitation of local retail. 24 towns benefiting from the program have used this fund to build or renovate commercial premises. A specific support has been set up for 7 territories in order to help them shaping strategies also on land sobriety. An expert team of urbanists and land engineering is provided to the municipality to assess and to map the possibilities of urban recycling and of urban intensification. Such an experimentation aims at supporting pioneer cities to achieve our national public target of net zero artificializing. Reinventing our city centers is also another innovative approach aiming at promoting architectural landscape and landscape excellence in medium-sized cities by encouraging the emergence of innovative projects and accelerating the requalification of old buildings and complex sites in the city centers. The consultation process led to the selection of 56 towns, all of which launched ambitious projects alongside with developers and architects, and cities received financial and human support to organize a public consultation on a complex site of the ancient center, and 16 of them at day have already selected through such channel teams of architects, urbanists and investors, bringing architectural and urban excellency to sites for which planning had shown little progress in years, if not decades. The program has also been enriched by a number of partnerships to offer cities a range of possibilities to launch local projects. These partnerships have been established with the economic actors, for example, one of which is the Conservatoire National des Arts et Métiers, with the aim of opening training centers for local industries in the cities that we aim to revitalize. 35 of these centers are currently open in our mid-sized cities, Action Coeur de Ville. The production schools also aim to train young people in industrial trades, and we can also mention, for example, another partnership with the mutual guarantee company that facilitates credit to proximity activities in order to revitalize proximity retail in the town centers. These partnerships also concern sport, for example, in particular with the partnership with Paris 2024 and the Cité du Design, that aims to develop activities and design in cities, adapting urban furniture and spaces to encourage daily physical activity in public space, which is called active design. And finally, culture, of course, is also an important dimension with a partnership that we have with the National City of Architecture and Heritage that aims at organizing loans of artworks to medium-sized cities. Some partnerships also concern the adaptation to major transitions, ecological transition, nature in the city, response of to the aging of the population. And beyond this national vision, some fine projects are underway and results are already being seen after 4 years by the inhabitants of medium-sized cities. Support for urban development and urban planning is a particularly important dimension of the program, as almost half of the projects are related to this type of action. These projects mobilize local investors, developers and architects. I would like to present some of them to you, emblematic of the program's transversal approach. So the first project that I would like to bring to your attention is in 2019 a bookshop, Le Furet du Nord, which is France's leading independent bookseller and famous in the north of the country, reopened an Art Nouveau Eiffel style building next to another monument, UNESCO World Heritage Site in Douai, in the city of Douai in the north of France. And a year before, the city of Douai acquired the commercial wasteland with the aim of setting up a business on a long-term basis after having been occupied for more than 150 years by the Treca hardware store, an industrial store. The frequentation of the Douai bookshop is now the top 5 of the Furet du Nord company. The threefold objective of the 2.2 million project supported by the agglomeration and the state was to reduce vacancy and commercial wasteland, to give access to an exceptional historic site in the town center and to generate customer flows in a strategic artery. The second project I'd like to mention is the Via Palace, the Palais de Via, with a medieval tower and a visual landmark of the city of Cahors in the southwest of France, and they are located in the heart of the historical center. This site combines several buildings, medieval remains of the palace, building which housed the departmental prison, as well as the building of the former mutuelle of the 16th and 17th centuries on the banks of the river Lot and below the palace. It's a mixed operation that plans to create a residence of 26 apartments, tourist accommodation, shops oriented towards arts and crafts, a public building, a concept store, as well as a parking lot and public spaces, and even a micro nursery and a co-working space. This is an example of the necessity of the mixity of operation in such historical premises. Such projects give you a hint, I hope, of what we're concretely working at since 4 years. All in all, I hope that this presentation has shed light on the actions that we're taking and will continue to take over in years to come to enable medium-sized cities to transform and become more resilient, more welcoming, more attractive, more innovative and greener. These actions rely on a partnership involving all partners, mayors, public funders, economic players, association, government services, and also urban planners and architects who help to imagine and bring about the mid-sized cities of tomorrow in France.